Hi, Natalie. Welcome to the High Vibration Living Podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to chat.
I know this is such a treat for me. I love chatting with people who are psychics, who are mediums, who care about the energy that's going on, can feel it, and then knows how to use this information just to improve and uplift their lives and other people's lives. Because I think that's the whole purpose of these tools that a lot of people are gifted with. And more people, I think, are going to be coming online gifted with these tools.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I completely agree. I think there can be such a misconception around how intuitive gifts, psychic gifts, whether you're predicting the future or whatever, in the end, the information comes through for a reason. And I also feel like the information picks the person of who it's coming to as well. Again, how we can all decode something. So multiple people can receive the same message, but we're all going to decode it it's going to be translated in different ways depending on which psychic or which medium you're going to 9 times out of 10, because in the end, everyone has a unique channel of how they're decoding the information that comes through. And I also massive believer that, it is just big collective energy, and then we're using different tools to decode it as, so example, like astrology or whatever. It's like we're all tuning into the energetics, or even numerology. We're all tuning into the energetics of what it is, but it all comes from the same source. Like it all comes from the same place, and it's just how we're translating it to the collective. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's how I see it.
I see it the same way too. And so let's just talk a little briefly about 2025.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have predictions, but we know that there's a variety of different timelines. Like outcomes can change. But from what I'm hearing, the overall energy 2025, it adds up to a nine. Nine is endings, it's completion, it's the wrap up of the cycle, and it's also the number of war. So we're wrapping up a cycle, we're completing a cycle here on the earth, the way our lives currently work, and there might be disruptions in different parts of the world. Um,
Well,
but
it's
your
really
thoughts.
interesting, isn't it? Because 2024, so the energy of 2024 that came through to me at the end of 2023 was fired up. This was a year about getting fired up around what you believe in, what brings you joy, what stays, what goes. There's this real kind of energy of looking at what stays and what goes. Again, in build up of the 9 year of 2025, it was a real kind of deep dive into that energetics. And part of that was power struggles, because when things are fired up and bubbling over, you're going to have power struggles, which we have seen in 2024 globally on so many different levels, politics, war. And that's why I find it really interesting is that we already have wars like happening. And so I think it can be, again, how things get decoded, how things get translated is really interesting. Will there be, the irony is because it's that energy of completion, things are getting wrapped up. And I think that's why, again, there might be the light being on our focus and awareness being on certain tensions globally across multiple different countries. But in the end, our jobs as humans on this planet is to resolve them. It is to end them, not to create them. And so I think there's this really powerful invitation next year of like, are we going to do things differently? Are we just going to keep repeating the same cycles? Or maybe we could go into those different areas, and maybe there's a chance here to do something differently in it. And I think there can be so much pressure right now on the heaviness of everything in the world. And I feel like actually there's this really potent reminder next year of, keep doing you, like keep looking at yourself, keep doing the deep dive inwards and what's important to you. And I feel like there is going to be more of that. I mean, you said so succinctly that more and more people are going to be, becoming not becoming intuitive, because we already are intuitive. There's just going to be a remembrance next year. Again, we keep every year there's this build up of like, oh no, we're intuitive. And I think that that's going to come in, but it's going to have, next year is going to have very much different energy compared to this year. It just feels it just feels energetically different. I mean, I'm in the process of getting prepped to channel through my 2025 energy forecast for the year ahead, and so kind of moving through the energetics myself in my own body, because that's how I love
Yeah.
to work. And yeah, it just feels different, which I'm excited about.
Me too. I'd love to know what your process is to prepare yourself and your body for channeling. I
Yeah.
know everyone always has a different practice, especially for people they know that moving into 2025, they want to develop a stronger spiritual practice.
Mm.
What have you built and created to kind of prep yourself before you sit down in the chair and channel?
Yeah, I go through phases through channeling, these monthly forecasts for like the last 8 and a bit years. And so it's so interesting around like what stays and what goes. For me, it can be as simple as walking your dog in the morning. Getting out and walking my dog and being out in nature sets me up for the day. Just being in the elements. Like, I'm someone that really connects to being out, feeling the elements on my face, feeling the wind, feeling the air. Do you know what I mean? It just resets. And for me, I'm setting the intention before the walk that I am clearing anything that's not mine, clearing anything that's stuck and stagnant, and also being like, bring me messages, bring me things that I need to channel through, start bringing them through, because for me, I find that the channeling has already started before you've already sat down. So you're already getting the themes, the topics, the emotions, the feelings, the repetitive signs or themes are already appearing, but it's just being open to notice them. So for me, the practice is noticing and clearing the body. And hey, I'll smudge, I'll yoni steam. I find that can be a really powerful tool to reset your body. Yeah, I love drinking. I love cacao. Like, I'll make a ceremonial cacao beforehand as well as part of it, or drink it as I'm channeling as well. So, yeah, I kind of, if I'm honest, it kind of just, I go with what feels right in that day, for that energy, for that month, for that year. It's like, oh, this is what's needed of me, or this is what I'm feeling called to do. So the practice is very intuitive. As much as I love sometimes to have a plan or it to be regimented, I find that the practice can also be a bit more free flow too.
Because you're in England, I mean, we really need to kind of reframe, like, everywhere you go in the world is ancient, right? But you're in England. Do you find that you can go to certain places, or you get called to certain places in your country where you get more clear information, or whenever you go there, you just get flooded with information that it's just even easier for you?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think we're all impacted on a land-based energy of where we feel connected. I mean, I've just come back. I'm now in the UK, but I was living in Canada for 9 years. Yeah, I came back in 20. Gosh, I was like, when did I come back? The start of 2024. And so for me, 2023, my God, time, talking about times. And time is on hyperspeed. And I find that you can be in a place that you feel deeply connected to, and yeah, information can flood in. And you can live in certain places where you feel more connected to others. I think that's, again, it's that feeling in your body where you feel connected to yourself, or you feel sparkly, or you feel like you're getting those hell yeses, or you feel like your spirit team's around you. And you can get different guides based on different land that you're on. So I didn't have a First Nation guide, or hadn't communicated with a First Nation guide because in the UK, because of course I wasn't in Canada. But when I moved and was living in Canada and I was doing my work over there, First Nation guides, First Nation people that had been on the land who had passed over would step forward and communicate with me. So yeah, you do get a lot of land-based spirits coming in to talk to you depending on where you are. If I visit a historical site, yeah, they'll come through, and a lot of the time it's them telling you what used to be on the land. So it's like, there used to be a church here. Oh, there used to be a monastery. Oh, we used to have a road. Or, oh, this is what we used to do here. They're like, a lot of the time they're sharing with you how life used to be living on that land, and comparing it to how it used to be.
That's what I have found too, is they always show or tell me how they used to do things. Almost to say like, so if you want to, you can do it here too. And it
Yeah.
would serve you in this way. And that's kind of neat to know that, like, hey, if you want to come and do ceremonies here or do any work on yourself here, it's a safe place to do it and we'll be support you.
Yeah, massively. Like, this is a sacred space. This is a spiritual space. It breaks down the ego, because again, sometimes when we can feel important or powerful because we're doing a ritual, or we've chosen to do a ritual in a particular place, we've chosen to connect, it can feel like, yeah, wow. And then these energies come through and they're like, yeah, by the way, we've been doing this here for thousands of years. And it's like, oh yeah, let's get this into perspective. And I think it gives you that kind of spiritual ego check that's always really good as well.
I think it makes the whole thing fun. And I think that's what I'm looking for in 2025 is I want to have a lot more fun. I want more playfulness, more joy, more uplifting energy. And so whatever the universal energy is on the planet in 2025, we'll feel it as soon as we move into it. I want to just try to transmute it in the best way possible to move upward and outward.
Yeah. And it's about discovering what that means for you personally. Like, it actually is about that deep dive of digging in and being like, well, what does joy look like for me? And, oh, maybe I should go and try out some different things and see what that is, and do the things that might take you by surprise in that as well.
Doing one-on-one readings for people these days, or just overall forecasts?
Yeah, I do one-on-ones. So I love doing one-on-one sessions with people because they'll describe where the person's at right now. They bring up the past. They bring up specific ages in the past timeline of things that have come up. Just because it then shows us how we're repeating patterns and cycles. Because in the end, we can repeat patterns and cycles without really realizing it. And so they show me the kind of connecting dots in between, so that the person I'm reading for can break them, so that you can then move forward into the future. Because it's that, like, sometimes the things we want don't happen because we keep repeating the same patterns and cycles. And then when we see them, or you go to a psychic who knows nothing about you and is sharing with you your patterns and cycles, that, it's suddenly like, oh yeah, okay, I see that now. So yeah, I love doing sessions. Yeah, they're good fun.
Do you have any advice to people that are listening that want to see if they can recognize their own patterns and cycles that aren't serving them?
Yeah. That's a really lovely question. I would say you can reflect back on your own life-changing moments. So those moments like where life stood still, where you get stopped in your tracks, and notice where if it feels safe, or that you feel cool to do that, and it feels, again, it's a choice of doing anything, is noticing how you felt in those moments, and then reflecting back on the time stood still moments that you currently face in your life, and noticing again, does this feel the same place in my body? Is this a repeat? Do you know what I mean? Is this a repeating thing with the same people on the board? It's like re-looking at the chess, like re-looking like a chessboard, and looking at the pieces on the board and being like, hang on a second, is this the same? Am I moving? Am I making the same moves here? Am I making the same choices and decisions? And then once you've doing it for yourself, then look at the ancestor story. So a lot of the time we're repeating the same patterns without even realizing, of our parents, of our grandparents, or even our great grandparents, or even aunts and extended family. And so you can begin to look at if you know it, the ancestor story around the stories that we told ourselves, and the key life events that happen too, because a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, it's just repeated, and that's what comes through from the other side. It's like, yeah, that happened to your dad's brother, it's exactly the same, and people are like, yeah, shit, I hadn't thought about it like that. And so we're given these chances and these opportunities to do things differently. Like, I really see it as we get a chance to like rewrite the story and do things differently, and not repeat the things that our ancestors didn't get to learn.
Yeah, I feel like with that, it requires us to slow down a little bit
Yeah.
and think about our reactions before we react. So it requires us to slow down and really think about our next decisions instead of immediately responding to the email, immediately responding to the text. You really have to slow down and sit with it and make a decision. It's hard. It's definitely uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that's like living with intuition. Everyone's like, "Oh, intuition must be a really lovely gift." And it's like, well, actually, kind of like when you have a heightened intuition,
Yeah.
you see more things, you feel more things, you know more things, and we all have access to it. And so once you begin to slow down and notice and see the patterns and cycles and embrace that side of you, there's kind of nowhere to there's nowhere to hide. You have to look at it. It forces you to slow down. And I think that that is something that's really, really important, that there's no quick fix, there's no quick change. And if you do a quick fix, it'll only come back where you're suddenly having, to do the real fix, to do the real foundation rebuild versus doing the quick one.
Yeah, we were always taught in culinary school that if you're coaching a client on a cleanse or editing their diet in some massive way, you have to move them very slowly into it, or else it's the boomerang effect. So if you just go eating full foods and not starting weaning yourself off down to more liquids and eating cleaner and more vegan before you start a juice cleanse, you are going to boomerang back off the cleanse really fast, and it's not ultimately going to be health supportive. But if you
Yeah.
slowly work yourself to do the cleanse and then slowly come off the cleanse, you're going to have a better long-term effect.
Yeah. Massively. It's just, again, it's that, our whole body's intuitive. The body is intuitive, and the body is what receives the intuitive information. And so, the clearer the channel that you are, the more information that you're going to receive, the more connected you're going to feel in your own body. And yeah, I mean, that's why you'll find, I don't really drink anymore. I can't, I don't like the feeling. I don't like how it takes me out of my body. And again, that just massively intensified once I'd activated my channel, and it was just like, oh gosh, like can't do this. And also when I've done cleanses in the past, you come through it feeling again more connected, feeling more dialed in, off the back of it. I once did, was it 2022? I did a goat milk cleanse where you
Mm-hmm.
drink. I did the goat milk cleanse, and my body responded really well to it, and it was really fascinating what came off the back of of that. Just yeah, on a personal level, making changes. So yeah, if it's something that people feel cool to do and do cleanses in that way, they yeah, it can have a massive positive impact.
Yeah. And then another tip, ironically, I didn't go to a traditional culinary school. I went to a very alternative culinary school. And so we were also always taught like eating vegan isn't for everybody. You really have to figure out your blood type, your ancestry, what
Yeah.
works for you also, because like what your spiritual practice is, right? So, eating vegan or vegetarian is right for a particular type of Kundalini yoga teacher channel at a certain period of time in their life, but it's not meant to be year round for everyone. But if you need clarity, if you need like 2 days of crystal clear clarity because you're struggling to make a decision or you're struggling to understand the next step, eat super clean vegan, like real whole foods for 24 hours to 48 hours, and the answers will come in because
Yeah.
you're just super clear.
Completely. Yeah, I tried to be vegan. I did it 3 months, 8 years ago. Me and beans were just not friends in that way. Like again, that ancestor energy for me, meat. I hate to say it, like meat, potatoes, and two veg. My body is like a happy camper.
Me too.
Being from the UK, again, it's that like your body just knows that that's what it's supposed to be, and yeah. So yeah, that seems to. I've
The other
eh,
stuff is, yeah, just tools.
Yeah, the other stuff again, it's trusting yourself enough to go on that journey to do discover what's right for you versus being told what you that other people think that you should be eating or doing, and just
Yeah.
doing it regardless because that person told you to do it you've got to show up intuitively with this stuff of like, yes, this feels aligned. I'm going to do it. Yes, this person is, yeah, I get what they're saying. And also then having the confidence to be like, do you know what? I'm going to take that bit from what you've said. And actually, this also feels like intuitively that it would fit, and kind of go with that. I love, like, if I'm taking supplements, a couple of practitioners knew that I obviously my work. And so they would give me the same, vitamin D or whatever, with two different brands. And they'd be like, again, like, which one are you drawn to? Which one intuitively do you feel as a brand is the hell yes? And I'd hold them in my hands and I'd be like, yeah, it's that one. No, it's definitely not that one. Don't want that in my body. And again, it's like, even working on a supplemental level using your intuition is a game changer.
So you're able to tell just by holding the bottle.
Yeah.
That's how you do your own muscle testing.
Yeah. Or like looking at or even just looking at the label of the bottle, I know which one I'm drawn to.
Yeah.
Which one. And it's funny because, practitioners have been like, yeah, that's the one I thought you would go for, or that's the one that, has this different, has this added thing in or whatever. And yeah, I like to work like that. And again, obviously, listening to the people with all the knowledge as well, and listening to what they have to say. But in the end, it's kind of working intuitively with it too, and finding a good practitioner you trust, that gets you, that sees you, is also really important.
Do you often have clients ask about their health?
Yeah.
When you do a reading? I'm sure
Yeah.
these days, because there's just so much noise about food and diet and health and people's goals about how they look and how they feel, I'm sure they're turning even more and more to mediums and psychics for guidance, because they're struggling to make the decision themselves.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, I mean, it's health, money, relationships, home and jobs. Like, that's the main things that we want to know about. And health, it's it can be things, Spirit will bring through actual tools and practices to look at. They'll flag certain areas in the body that need to be looked at. They'll also sometimes share things that aren't working that people are doing. Or, if my teeth start hurting in a reading, I'm always like, you need to go to a dentist, like this. And they'll tell me stuff about people's teeth. Yeah, it can always be interesting with health stuff, because sometimes they do bring it through so that you're feeling it in the body. And you're like, okay, that's not mine. That's the person that I'm reading for. Okay, this is going on. Or again, sometimes it comes on before the reading. So sometimes I'm like, oh, this isn't mine. This is my 10 o'clock appointment. This is theirs. And so you have to get really good at energy clearing, because you don't want to feel this stuff in your body that someone else is going through on a health level. You have to then be really good at decoding and deciphering, like, that's not mine, that's theirs. And those energy practices on clearing your energy is a game changer, because a lot of the time, sometimes we can feel stuff in our bodies and think it's ours when it actually isn't.
Yeah. So what are 3 things that maybe you do in the morning or the evening to make sure that you're not walking around with other people's stuff?
Yeah, the salt baths I love, or salt gargling. I think sometimes if you feel it stuck in your face, I love gargling salt with just a bit of warm water. That just kind of really cleanses the inside of the mouth, which I think is a really powerful receiver of intuition. For me, when something feels off, or I know something is off, I taste it, like that metallic taste. Again, in a health level, when things aren't right in your body, you feel like that horrible metallic taste. For me, that comes forward. So yeah, salt water. Gargling is also really awesome.
Great tip.
Yeah, biomat. A biomat is great. You're gonna love a biomat to reset your body.
Love it.
Best
I go
investment.
someplace to use one once a week, and it's like the best 21 minutes of my life.
Yeah, it's powerful. If you've got access to a sauna, sweating it out. Again, sometimes it can be as simple as, after every client or even after a podcast recording, I will put my hands on the earth and send the energy back into the earth. And I'll go and wash my hands like a doctor or a nurse would. I'll wash my hands all the way up to my elbows, just to like wash the energy out of my body that way. And that's also a really good, easy way of resetting you. Smoke clearing is also great. And just putting Spotify on and putting your favorite track on really loud and dancing around the room also has an amazing effect.
Yeah. Moving the energy
Yeah,
through
moving it.
your body.
Yeah. Because in the end, the body is how you receive your intuitive messages. If when things get stuck, move the body. It's the body intuition connection is paramount.
Those are great tips. I'd love to know, are there particular routines that you like to do at the beginning of the year to set yourself up for a wonderful year, or just to continue to ease further into the winter?
Yeah.
Anything in particular that you find that you always do in January?
Yeah, listen to my energy forecast. Aside from that, I love doing, I call it, I saw it ages ago, the clock card spread, where you pull a card for every month of the year. So January through to December, and then you pull an additional card, number 13, and you put it in the middle. And so the card in the middle is your theme, your personal theme of the year. And then you pull, and then the card, January. And honestly, it gives you a really good gauge of like where your year's at. I mean, I always say don't spiral, like don't go into the book of like what each card is and be like, oh my God, like May's going to be awful. I always find it's interesting looking back on reflection and being like, I get that now. I get why I pulled that card for September. I thought it was going to mean this, but actually it was bringing me that, and that card now fits. But yeah, if that's a really, really simple, easy card spread, that is a great way to set up your January.
I think card spreads are one of the best mental medicines out there, because when you're going through a month where something's suddenly off, or suddenly like ridiculously joyful and easy and smooth, it's kind of fun to look back on your phone at the card spread and be like, oh yeah, like that's why things are moving this way. And I feel like it gives us the mental rest to not marinate on something, or why is things happening this way, or why is it feeling hard and heavy or sticky or whatever it is. You look back on the card and you're like, all right, it's just the energies I'm working with. This will come to pass.
And I do a monthly card spread that goes with the energy for the month, each month. So it's like how you can drop in and work with the energetics of that month. But I do find that it's really important to allow the cards, the energy to kind of unfold. And we can get stuck and think it means one thing all the time versus it being like multi-layered. And also, not trusting it. Sometimes we can pull a card and be like, oh, I'm going to put that one back in the deck and I'm going to pull a different one for that. And it's really about trusting where you are with your cards, and trusting that you pulled the right one and that you've got the right message, and giving yourself the benefit of the doubt to read the energy of the cards and what they mean to you versus just going to the guidebook. So really being like, oh, before I'm going to look in the book, what does this actually mean for me? What does that image mean on the front? What does that color mean on the front? What does that word mean? And really, like, again, you asked such a great question earlier about themes and patterns and how you notice them for yourselves. Like, start there with cards. You'll start to really notice themes and patterns that come up in those visual messages through cards before you even look in the book of what the author says that they've channeled through kind of what that card is for. Like, give yourself the chance to decode it yourself first.
If someone pulls cards for the beginning of the year or does a reading with you or somebody else, and they're getting blocked energy and they want to figure out a way to kind of clear that so they can open more paths for them in their new years, is blocked energy really just like super personal to what someone's going through in their life? Or are there traditional practices like moving the body, like exercising, like dancing, like salt baths, that just help clear blockages universally?
I would say, for me, if I'm feeling like something is blocked in someone, I'll always ask them, their guides, to tell me what it is, like straight up. Like, what is it? Like, where does it come from? Like, why won't you make that decision? Why won't you commit? So, and you can do that for, again, doesn't need me to tell you what that is. Sometimes it can literally be the practice is, when I'm out in nature or I'm lying in the bath, I'm going to ask my spirit team, why am I blocked? Like, why won't I commit? And ask them, like, show me, like, or
Yeah.
And so if you're a visual person, they might again take you back down the timeline to that boyfriend that you dated when you were 19 that messed with your heart. Like, they will, do you know what I mean? Like, that will come up and they'll show you it. you might be someone that's not visual that actually loves writing. And so you can do the same thing with channel writing. So you can literally be like, right at the top of the piece of paper, what is blocking me right now from achieving X? Or what is stopping me from committing to making the changes that I want in my life? And start writing and just see what wants to come through for you, because that can also be a really great way of doing it. And again, you can pull a card as well, but sometimes, try those other ways first.
Yeah, we just need to start asking the questions for ourselves.
Yeah, and that's the misconception is that we're waiting to receive. We're waiting to interact with our intuition to receive the messages instead of seeing it as a two-way conversation, to see it as a two-way transmission where they can transmit to you, your intuition can transmit to you, but you can transmit to it as well back the other way, and you can ask and be like, I need clarity on this. What do you mean by that? If you want me to do this, give me more information on what the how is. How do you want me to move forward with this? Make it really obvious. Make it really clear of what the how is of this dream. If it's not happening and it's feeling blocked and it's feeling stuck, make it obvious. And if you keep getting that door shut, maybe it's actually that you have to listen to that and find a different way of moving forward.
That, because I definitely find when I sit and connect with my guides, they need me to ask questions, to ask prompts. They're not just going, it's not like you're sitting in front of a channel where you just pull up a chair and they're just going to talk to you for an hour. If I don't ask questions, they won't share information with me.
And the right reader, I'm asking the questions for you.
Yes.
That's the only thing I'm doing. I'm asking questions. That's all I'm doing. Is like, oh, what does Whitney like? What's this about love? What's this about, work? What's this about? I'm only asking them questions.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. And that's why it's like gaining that strength and the power and the confidence to ask the questions, but to also trust the information you're receiving back down.
Yeah. And, we kind of I used to sometimes use the excuse of, gosh, I just don't know what question to ask. But in this day and age with ChatGPT, I can literally ask AI, what are the questions I should be asking my guides and angels for clarity on this issue or this option, or right? Like, why don't I use
100%.
ChatGPT to give me the question prompts for my guides? So no more excuses.
No, the technology's out there. And hey, I was reading something the other day that they're about to launch a whole brand new ChatGPT, like 0.50 or 60, whatever it is. Like, it's going to be, it's going to be wild.
It's just going to keep evolving.
100.
Everything I keep hearing is there's only ever going to be a certain number of AIs that we have access to using. They're going to keep that, I think. Who knows? I feel like I heard the number 5 or something, but they're going to keep that controlled for us.
It's 5 or 6, the latest one that's going to be like grow it like massive with the amount of I can't think of the word that they how they kind of gauge it, but and then it's interesting, and I think that's also connected to the rise of intuition. So you can have ChatGPT and AI doing its thing, and the interest in human technology, again, that's connected to giving you answers, what the intuition, seeing the future, is going to be really fascinating, as there's going to be a rise of both of them at the same time. Virtual, like remote viewing, and the connection with remote viewing is going to be really important, is potent. I mean, governments have been using remote viewing for years.
So that's so wild, because I was just listening to one of my teachers talk literally 2 nights ago, and he was like, remote viewing. He's like, the amount of people that are going to suddenly have the skill to remote view is going to skyrocket. And he said, especially amongst, I guess, Gen Z, so people that are in high school and college, their abilities to remote view are going to really start to take off.
Yeah, big time. I mean, I find it really fascinating if I'm doing a reading for someone and something comes up about their house, and the guides will show me. They'll show me like, oh yeah, you go up your stairs, it's the second door on the right hand side, da, 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 da. And they're like, how are you doing that? I'm like, well, they're just showing me what your house looks like. Like, and again, it's the trusting of you being here in your body, and then you kind of moving into that other, visualizing it and seeing it in where it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I do it with my clients' kitchens. If I don't feel like asking them if they have something in the pantry or in the fridge,
Amazing.
I remote view it. But then it comes back to trust. And the moment I stop trusting, that's when I'll buy the ingredient that they already have. But it's when I really feel into it and I really see it and trust it,
I
then I don't have
love
to
that.
ask them. Then I save the money. Everybody wins. There's less clutter in the pantry.
Yeah, right. Again, it's that's how receiving intuitive information. You'll know, you'll have your own personal signs. So
Mhm.
you'll have your own intuitive markers or your own intuitive visual that's like, oh, I'm getting my visual for messy kitchen, or oh, I'm getting my visual for, you know, blunt knives or whatever it is that to then bring up in the conversation. So for you, it's trusting the repetitive symbols that you get, or that repetitive, sometimes it can be a feeling in the body that that when you repeat it or you share it, it's for them and it's part of your intuitive dictionary, if that makes sense, like your intuitive messages. So I have particular feelings and sensations in my body that I'm like, oh yeah, that means they've just been through a breakup, or oh yeah, that means they're worried about money, or oh yeah, that means. And so I'm getting my visual for feeling trapped or hemmed in, and so you can do that with your kitchen.
Really neat.
Yeah.
And that I really like the idea of journaling the consistent feelings that you get in different parts of your body and knowing that that's a symbol for this. It's like writing your own toolbook, your own playbook.
Massive. Yeah, because in the end, it's how your intuition shows up for you in in your body. And so
And
when
it
you begin to
changes.
subtlety, it's the tiny little subtleties, it's tiny, like once you've grasped the big things, which feels like you have, it's then again asking your guides, okay, show me the subtleties, give it to me more, give me the nitty subtleties of things that will give you a greater depth to your intuitive messages.
I got some homework to do tonight. I love this. Is there anything in particular you like to do at night to wind down, to shut off, or to prepare yourself to go to sleep and get clear messages while you sleep?
Yeah, well, depending on if I've seen clients, I'll have a salt bath reset before bed. I love smoky quartz by my bed, or smoky quartz under the bed if you've got, again, rooting yourself down. Yeah. I'll do like an energy gridding over my bed. So I'll protect my own sleeping space. So I'll imagine like a gold grid that will grid my bed, and then I will rise it up, and then I'll grid my bedroom, and then I'll grid the whole house, and then I'll grid the rest of the garden that's associated with it. So I'm starting really small and I'm getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I'll grid everything that is setting the intention that I only want to receive the good energy while I sleep and keep all the crap out. I'll also ask my guides to bring me forward anything in dream state that I need to receive while I'm dreaming. And also I'll ask my guides to heal my body while I sleep. So I'll
Yes.
actually call forward and be like, can you heal me while I sleep? Can you reset my body while I sleep as well? So yeah, those are kind of a few things that I like to do. But again, it really just it changes on the energetics or what's happening that day or where I'm at. Sometimes if I'm feeling like there's too much of a flood of information coming in, I'll actually cover the top of my head. So I'll actually put a scarf over or wear a hat or
Yeah.
stick my pillow over my head. If I feel like I'm getting too much through my crown, I'll like close it off. Yeah.
Does it need to be a certain color?
No,
Or okay,
anything you've
just
got
anything to
floating
go over
around.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why, different religions they cover the head because that's the connection to God, to source, to the universe, whatever word you love to use or whatever connection that you have. And it works. And for me, it's like when there's this overwhelm, covering the top of the head just, yeah, shuts it all off for a little bit, which is nice.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm taking a lot of kind of mysticism classes right now, and it's making me reflect on history and how we've dressed throughout history and how hats, scarves, and gloves really served a purpose in protecting our energy and allowing some people to perform their mysticism at home and keep the things hidden that need to be hidden or to keep their energy protected. And it's
Yeah.
so interesting that as we've shed those layers of clothing, it's made us actually more energetically vulnerable.
Very much. Yeah.
It's been really fascinating just reflecting on that. That's not a part of my class, but they'll tell us in some of the techniques that we're learning, make sure people don't see that part of your palm or cover your head or protect the neck. We used to dress in a way that would do that.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, completely. Yeah, you've just got there. I've got an image in my head of The Witches, the movie where the woman goes, you may remove your wigs, you may remove your shoes and your gloves. And it's like, again, it's how what's covered. But yeah, and on the energetic protection massively of what you want to be seen and what parts of your body are the word spiritual activation points or spiritual portals that we all have and we interact with, which again, as simple as washing your hands can be really potent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the idea of going all the way up to the elbows, just like a doctor. Brilliant. Where do you turn to keep learning? Like, what are you currently fascinated with? Are there any books or practitioners or things that you're currently learning about, researching?
Yeah. Honestly, I've been in such a deep time right now since August of channeling through a whole brand new body of work. So I haven't had the time or space to kind of tap into other people. So I've really been kind of in this big creation mode for 6 months, diving really deep into that. But over the last month, I like Kundalini, even though I know it's been a bit controversial recently. But for me, I find it really activates my body. I find there's something about it that I find really clears the blocks and the energetics that I really connect to, especially with chanting. And there's something about using the voice. I used to sing and act and stuff as a kid, and I think there's some kind of crossover between that use of voice to clear and to call in things that is really important. So I'm kind of returning to kind of the voice element of that, because I think it gets lost in lots of kind of practices that are around right now. Like, wow, we've got this amazing, powerful tool of our voice, and we quieten it or we say shit in our head versus like being bold enough to like say it out loud. So I think there's been a bit of a voice activation going on. Yeah, and weirdly sometimes also for me, I've been reading a lot of Rebecca Yarros and Sarah J Maas books, which are like fantasy universe books, which even though isn't traditional like learning, there's something about reading or accessing creative things that you love, that lights you up, that inspire you, that teach you things about your energy and who you are and what you're about by reading kind of creative content versus it always being the need to learn something that is non-fiction, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I get inspired by films and TV shows and books, and I think for me, doing the work I do, it gives me that time to switch off.
Mm-hmm.
But I also find it really inspiring as well.
Any places on the planet you're feeling called to travel to in 2025?
Yeah, New York, which is New York's been on is on the list. I want to go back to Australia. That's been kind of floating around for a while. Japan, I've never been to. Japan, I would love to go to as a fascination, on a cultural fascination. But also been feeling very called I love runes, so feeling very called to kind of go to Norway, head up into that neck of the woods and kind of look at some Viking rune stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we are both blessed with some good traveling in the new year.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Good to move our bodies in that way.
Yeah.
And pick up some new activations.
Yeah, new activations. And also sometimes it's just the change of scenery that can make you realize what you actually have of things. Sometimes we don't realize what we've got until we have a break from it. And then you come back and you're like, oh, yeah. And also it gives you that wake up call sometimes of like, oh God, this has got to change. Like I've been I've been letting this drag on and having that change. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like travel is such a great way to also figure out how you need to upgrade your routines at home.
Yeah.
And it helps you realize like what's missing, what you need to add, what you need to take away. Uh, the beauty of taking a break from your routine.
Yeah, and food routine as well. I love that's for me, that travel and food piece is again seeing what your body likes and seeing, where things are at, and yeah, experiencing new taste sensations.
Well, where can people connect with you if they want to get sessions with you, if they want to keep learning from you, if they want to get your 2025 download? Share all the right places.
Yeah, my website is natalie miles.com. So natalie-miles.com. My Instagram is I am Natalie Miles, and that will take you to all the places, energy forecasts, yearly forecasts, one-on-one sessions, and exciting new launches in the new year.
Perfect. And I'll have all those links in the show notes for those that are listening to make it easier. And Natalie, could you leave the listeners with maybe just one health, wellness, or spiritual tip they can consider adding into their life?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of one I haven't shared with you already. When you're in the shower, use the water to clear your energy. So actually use the water to clear your energy. And again, it's a great place to ask your guides or your intuition, what do I need to know today? So if you're someone that showers in the morning, again, set that day up as a morning ritual to ask your guides of like, what do I need to know today? What do I need to be aware of? And just notice and see what pops in, because yeah, it's just again your energy is being cleared by the water, and you get to ask your team at the same time.
I love that. That's a great tip. And you can do it really anywhere, you know? Hopefully,
Exactly.
we can all get access to an outdoor shower and ask it there.
Yes. Yes. Nice.
Well, because it just makes me think of summertime in here where I live in Southern California. When I get out of the ocean, I go and I shower off. And so it's like almost every time I get out of the ocean and I go to shower off just to get the excess salt off me, I can get a little clarity, get a
Yeah.
little download.
Yeah. Ask for the download. Interact with them.
Yeah, why not ask for it a few times a day? Well, Natalie, thank you so much. It was such a treat to connect with you.
You too. Thank you. It's been so lovely.
Yeah, and just wishing you just the most beautiful, uplifting 2025. And may all your hard work for your projects that you've been working for, like really just explode and just serve people in the greatest way for the new year.
Thank you so much. You too have an amazing, expansive 2025.
Yes, please. Thank you.